Hey, guess what? It's time for another controversial video. If you've been following my channel for a while, you might remember I did a universally loved video about the EK7000 where I basically said that the 1080p is fine, but there are better cameras available for the money. Well, that video has become fairly popular and I've received several negative comments every day on it since I posted it. Something about this whole thing feels wrong, and I believe that there's some astroturfing going on. As in, my video is being downvoted by a marketing company in an attempt to bury its main criticism, that the EK7000 is merely a rebranded Chinese camera that sells for double what it should. Anyways, if you've already bought the EK7000 and you're happy with it, great. In the end, the most important thing is that you're happy with what you've got and it works for you. But if you're still looking for a camera, keep watching and hopefully this list will help you save a little bit of money. Here's 5 cams that are cheaper than $80 and actually decent. Number 5 on the list is the Eken H9R. I'm starting with this camera because for all intents and purposes, it is the exact same thing as the EK7000. And I mean the hardware is the same, the software is the same, these cameras are identical. The only difference is the branding and the retail packaging. And if that doesn't make a difference to you, you can currently save $14 by going for the Eken over the EK7000. If you are comfortable buying products from overseas, both of these cameras are based on the Eken H9R, which is available for $45 currently. That means the same camera is $40 cheaper from other suppliers. The only difference is the branding. Next up is the SooCoo C30. This camera has a better processor and a real 12 megapixel image sensor, which means that you get decent video and higher resolution stills. Again, this camera is not a real 4K camera, just like the EK7000. However, unlike the EK7000, this camera can do real 2K and has an image stabilizer, meaning that some of your shaking is smoothed out while you're filming. Both cameras have similar battery life. The C30's downside though is its audio recording. If the camera's in the waterproof case, in order to hear the audio you'd need to boost it in post-production, and even then it's not fantastic. The C30 will set you back $65 without the remote or $75 with the remote, which means that you're getting more camera for less money. The next camera on my list is the ODRVM 4K action camera. In most cases, I would recommend getting the SooCoo C30 over this camera, but I'm including this camera specifically for people in Canada and the UK where the SooCoo C30 is not available at a reasonable price. This camera is identical to the SooCoo C30 in the same way that the H9R is identical to the EK7000. This camera is so similar to the C30 that it will even take C30 firmware. That means that it also has the same downside as the C30 where the audio recording isn't that great. However, at a price of $99 Canadian compared to $107 Canadian for the EK7000, that means you're saving $10 and ending up with a camera that has better video overall. Next up is the Dazzne P2 Plus. This camera is based on a 4 megapixel sensor, which is actually the same as the EK7000, go figure. However, it has a significantly better processor in it, which means that the 2K video and the 1080p 60 video is overall better quality. This camera here also has stabilization, although from what I've heard in reviews and YouTube, the stabilization isn't really good, so that's not the primary reason to buy this camera. The primary reason to buy this camera is that it's $43.99 currently, and it has pretty good video and audio, just don't buy it if you need high resolution stills. The last camera on my list was really tough to decide on because once you get below $50 it's hard to find a camera that has reasonable quality. I settled on the LightDow LD4000, although for most purposes I would highly suggest going for the SooCoo C30 or the Dazzne P2 Plus instead of this camera. This camera is very basic with only 1080p at 30 frames per second and fairly low resolution stills, but what it does very well since it's based on the famous SJ4000. Again, I would recommend spending at least $5 more on the Dazzne P2 Plus. However, if you just need a basic 1080p camera and you're not really interested in high resolution photos, and you don't need Wi-Fi, this camera might be the way to go. If you're buying from overseas, you can get even better cameras for the money. Honourable mention goes to the Xiaomi Yi action camera, which is currently about $75 on AliExpress. This camera here is the best of the bunch, and if you are comfortable and confident with buying overseas, I would highly recommend this one over anyone else. Runners up include the Hawkeye Firefly 7S, the F68 Wi-Fi, which is a little bit of a deja vu, and the Hawkeye Firefly 6S. Overall, I hope this video helps you find a camera that you're happy with. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate your support.